Yo, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another MLB trade rumor video. The cat is out of the bag. Carlos Correa has signed with the Minnesota Twins 6 years, $200 million, and really solidified himself as the shortstop of the Twins for years to come. I mean, they are going to try to build around him, win championships, and do everything they can to make that contract worth it. So props to the Twins that they were able to go get their guy. They spent some money. They had money to spend. They look like they could be heading in the right direction if everything, everybody stays healthy, if everything goes according to plan. Now, we'll talk about that in this video, but what does that mean for guys coming up after him, specifically Royce Lewis and the other minor leaguers that there's not really a spot for anymore? And again, that's what this video is about. But if you do enjoy this conversation that we're having here, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. We're still trying to hit 4,000 subscribers. That would be great if you like this content. But also, the reason I do this content is because I want to have discussions with you about baseball down in the comments below. So let's jump into this. Carlos Correa is a good player. And I mentioned this yesterday. I did a whole video on this about the trade rumor and the talks increasing and accelerating is the word that they used with Correa and the Twins since the Mets deal fell through. Again, just to recap that, Carlos Correa was with the Twins last year, $35 million. It was an option he opted out of his 3-year deal. He had an option every year, basically to go somewhere where he would be the guy, right? Byron Buxton, I think, is still the guy with the Twins, and he is the second guy. He's still the guy, but he's the second guy. And he wanted more money, right? I mean, he was getting contracts from the Giants, where he was there for 6 days. It was like 13 years, $300-something million. Didn't work out because of his physical. Then he went to the Mets, $300-something million for 12 years. Like, big contract. The Twins only offered him 6 years for $200 million, which is still like $36 million a year or something like that. So he still went up in his asking price, why he opted out of the Twins in the first place. But like I was saying, the Twins got their guy. They got the guy they wanted. They had the money to spend. They might as well have spent it. They don't spend a ton of money, usually. So this is good for the Twins. And he's a good player, right? I mentioned this. In yesterday's video, all this is in yesterday's video. 5.4 WAR, 22 home runs, 64 RBI, 291 average, and a 140 OPS plus. Overall, one of his best years as a whole. Maybe not all of the numbers are where he wanted it to be. He was hurt for a little while, but pretty solid season in 136 games for the Twins, right? Now the point of this video, Royce Lewis. He is the guy, or was supposed to be the guy for the Twins coming up, where he was drafted, 4th overall, I think, first overall, first overall in the 2017 draft out of high school. I mean, this dude is 23 years old right now. He's also been hurt twice in the minors and in the majors. The guy has the future to be a superstar, right? He will be 24 next year, and he still hasn't gotten all of what he can just because of the ACL injury, because he ran into center field wall last year when he shouldn't have even been playing there. I would somewhat blame Carlos Correa for that, but the point being is, where does Royce Lewis fit, right? He is young, and he's a good player, or has the potential to be a good player, but where does he go now? Some might say he goes to center field, or not center field, but the outfield, because hopefully Byron Buxton stays healthy. You can't put him at shortstop, obviously, unless you're going to not play your guy that you just spent $200 million for. He doesn't really have a spot. And that makes me upset as a Twins fan. Like, as a Twins fan, me being a Twins fan, I like it's not a trade, it's a signing. I like Carlos Correa because of the leadership that he brings. He is a star. He's still not the guy. Byron Buxton's the guy, but those two together are good, right? And if they're healthy, they're good. But you've got a guy like Royce Lewis who has shown potential. The only reason he's been out is because of injuries, not based on his own doing, really. I mean, if you don't have Carlos Correa last year, which I think he was a great mentor to Royce Lewis, but if you don't have him last year, Royce Lewis gets the call up, and he probably does fine, right? 23-year-old, now in the majors. He is your superstar for the next foreseeable future. But instead, they went out and got Carlos Correa, got his leadership, got his bat, got his glove. They wanted to roll with that. And to me, I don't agree with it. Like I said, I think this is a great signing for the Twins. They will be a better team because of this. But the way I see it is, instead of looking at this as you now have Carlos Correa and Royce Lewis, it is you have Carlos Correa, who is your shortstop now. Where does Royce Lewis fit? Like I said, some might say he goes to the outfield or gets put somewhere else because you have both stars. They are both talented. And the only way I see that happening is if you move Royce Lewis to second base and you get rid of Polanco. Or Arise, but Arise can go to first, and I think that's where I'd like him because he played well there last year. But realistically, you're running out of space, right? Miranda has really locked down third base, I would say. Now that Urshela is gone, Carlos Correa is at short. Polanco still at second. Maybe you have a rise there, and Miranda or Sano. If Sano comes back, I don't know what's going on with Sano. Maybe that's a different video. But you kind of don't have room for those guys who are veteran players that are more established. You're paying them more than Royce Lewis, right? So those guys are going to get the nod before Royce Lewis. So again, maybe you put him at second base, and that's the saving grace of all this. But the way I see it is you have Carlos Correa, your star, and you have a talent piece that's young that you can trade. And that makes me so sad because I see the talent in Royce Lewis. He played 12 games last year. That's it, before he got hurt because he had to go play center field. But he batted .300 with 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, and an OPS plus of 145. Yes, I know that's a very small sample size, but teams are looking at that. He was pretty good in the field. He was pretty good at the plate. He was good in 40 at-bats. He was good. I wouldn't say he was great, but he was good. And that is what teams are looking at. That is what the Twins noticed. And what they're going to do, what the Twins are going to do, is they're going to say, we got our guy, we spent our money. Now we have a first-round, first overall pick who's 23 years old, who still has a ton of potential, who already showed that he can be okay. Let's trade him. And for me, I mentioned this in yesterday's video. The contract that Royce Lewis has, I don't know what it is. I can't see it right off the bat, so I'm not going to speculate. But it's not even close to what Carlos Correa is. And I don't think, I mentioned this yesterday, you have a Carlos Correa who's $36 million. Let's just say Royce Lewis is $3 million. That is 10% of that contract. Do you think that Carlos Correa is 10 times better than Royce Lewis? I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe the leadership, maybe one more year, but for 6, you just shut out Royce Lewis for the rest of his career playing shortstop, at least the good part of his career in Minnesota. Unless Carlos Correa gets hurt, gets traded, or retires, there is no spot to play shortstop for the Twins. For Royce Lewis, again, maybe you move him to second, but is he 10 to 20 times better based on the contract that Royce Lewis has than Royce Lewis? The answer is no. So, again, what do you have? You have a player who is valuable, young, a star. Yeah, he may be a little bit injury prone, but again, I don't think that's really his fault. He went through an ACL injury, got back to baseball, looked even faster. Like, this dude has gone through that adversity and come out basically like Tommy John stronger, right? And if he doesn't play center field last year, he doesn't get hurt, or at least in that scenario. He probably might get hurt somewhere else, but in that scenario, he doesn't get hurt. So teams are going to be looking at this, that they have a shortstop who has a ton of potential, who is so young, who can hit for power, who's fast. The Twins are going to see that as trade bait, and they're going to get rid of him. And that makes me so sad, because I've been waiting for Royce Lewis to get up to the majors forever. I mean, since he was drafted, pretty much. 2019 is probably when I started focusing on this. So like 3 years, I've been waiting for this guy to get up to the majors, because he was supposed to be, him and Alex Kirilloff were supposed to be the 2 franchise players that brought the Twins back to the World Series. And now they're going to trade him. I'm not saying the trade would be bad, but it's sad, and it depends who they go get, right? Could you trade a Royce Lewis for a player like Jazz Chisholm? Probably not. And like maybe, second baseman is what I'm trying to go at. Like, you get a talented player in that regard. The Twins need pitching. Are you going to be able to go get Royce Lewis for a Pablo Lopez? Probably not. So that's the struggle is, and I want to wait till we get more information. 'Cause this is all speculation, of course, right? Like I've been saying, it's a trade rumor. But if Royce Lewis can be traded for somebody like Lopez, for somebody like Sandy, right? An ace that has so much potential, that is what the Twins need the most. Great. But if they start having these trade rumors around Royce Lewis for a player like Sonny Gray or, gosh, I don't even know who's another subpar kind of pitcher. I don't even know. That's maybe Sonny Gray is probably the best example on the Twins, right? If they go get a guy like Sonny Gray, that's not good for Royce Lewis. And I think you just completely wasted him and his talents for the last 4 years. But again, this is all speculation, and why I make this video is to have you guys comment your thoughts on a possible Royce Lewis trade, if it's good for the Twins. Like, I don't think it could be bad. It depends what they can get for him. If they can get good starting pitching like Pablo Lopez, I'd be fine with it. But the odds are, because he's not that established yet, because he just is potential, people are going to view him as a prospect still, and I don't think they get as much for him as they'd like, or as they should, right? So I hope that Royce Lewis stays with the Twins. I hope that the best case scenario is he plays second base and it goes Arise, Royce Lewis, Correa, Miranda, at least for the foreseeable future. You can get rid of Polanco. You can get rid of Sano. You can get rid of Kepler while you're at it. But it opens the door for Royce Lewis, and I hope that that happens. But again, if you're going to trade him, please, please, please go trade him for good starting pitching, young starting pitching that can get us somewhere, right? I'm going to cry, but I've said my piece. I hope you guys agree with me, and maybe if you don't, that's okay. Again, leave a comment down below. We'll see you next time. Bye.